Okay, class, good day. This is supposed to be the topic that we should have had I been available yesterday. But I thank you for your understanding that since I had the training, so I will have this recorded lecture for you. So we took up site selection last time, and part of the subtopics to backtrack a little was on the economic factors of the backing, excuse me, the economic factors on site selection. Then we also discuss on the importance of site evaluation. Then we proceeded with the perennial crops. And I hope you still can remember the difference between perennial crop, the biennial crop, and the annual crops. Then we have gone into the specifics of the annual crops as to the categories. So just try to remember the different categories: grain crops, the vegetable crops, root crops, the industrial crops. Then the groupings of annual crops is usually based on these known factors. So based on the morphological characteristics and based on the similarities in the type of culture being used uh, for each one of them. So I believe in one other section we have not taken up this part, implications of growing annual crops. So let me formally start from this slide. Implications of growing annual crops. Now, by annual crops, we do not necessarily mean, as I said before, the 12 months in a year. But annual crops has something to do with its whole cropping period. So when it is just like rice crop of 120 days from planting to harvesting, so it would only entails around 4 months for its whole cropping duration. So the time is, in other words, short. Okay, then crops are highly seasonal and are therefore very sensitive to climatic changes. So what does that mean? When it is a short duration crop, at least there is that tendency for you to be able to escape with the many risks in the field. So I have given you the example that usually in the Philippines and even in our place in Leyte, the typhoon usually comes during the ER month or months. So September, October, that's the start of the visitation of typhoon. So that you can arrange your planting of the annual crops on the early months of the year. Okay, then quick turnaround period. Ibig sabihin, uh, mabilis lang. Pag nagtanim kayo in 4 months time, harvest na. Quick turnaround period. Quick return on investment, of course. Then the land is more likely to be subjected to intensive use. This is now the disadvantage of a uh, short duration crops or annual crops. Kung baga, lalo magkaroon ng stress without availing what we call as fallow, if a fallow period, meaning rest period for the land with no cropping. So, kumbaga, more stress without an opportunity to recover for the depletion of nutrients. Okay? So, all about implications of growing an annual crops. then offer more possibilities for crop diversification. Okay. Pwede ka magtanim ng marami kung short duration lang. So, pagpalagay natin perennial, hindi ka na makapagtanim ng marami pag nakapag-decide ka na magtanim ng ganitong uri lang. Kasi matagal bang mawawala sa lugar. Then number 4, more flexibility in adjusting cultural practices to uh, resources available. So, kung ano lang mayroon kayo, di mag-decide kayo kung anong particular crop ang gagamitin. Okay, so implications on using annual crops. Now, let us go to land preparation. There is that comparison between land preparation done in lowland and land preparation done in upland. Of course, this is tabulated and you can just read this one as soon as I'll be uploading this one mm, in your e-classroom. So, for physical changes, just follow down physical changes under lowland, the physical changes under upland. So, of course, very self-explanatory, except on some points. For example, number 3, uh, macrospores are lost only are lost and only microspore prevail. Upon drying of soils, bulk density is much increased. Then in upland, the macrospore and the microspore are maintained. Okay, so the explanation could be the paddling activity can cause the dissolution, kumbaga ma-dissolve. Okay? Ang greater bulk of the macrospore spaces shown to you in a form of pie last time. So that was around 45% of the whole pie, kumbaga, occupied by the macrospore, which is supposed to be the places to be occupied by the air and water. So upon paddling, what happened is that those macrospore will be dissolved and only the microspore will be maintained after drying the soil. So that's the difference between lowland and the upland. So another thing, masyadong microscopic naman. Paddling results in higher water retention capacity. Percolation is sharply decreased by a factor of 100 to 1,000 as compared to flooded but unpaddled soils. Sandy soils with high permeability when paddled results in reduced water loss and leaching. So this has something to do with the subtopics before we discussed on the possible changes of the soil uh, structure. Upon paddling, uh, you make a lot of changes in the soil structure such that the effect of that will cause the uh, rearrangement of soil particles so that the effect is impermeability of the soil to water. So di naka-permeate or go through so that you can say that in the lowland rice paddies, water can be impound. Okay. So wala namang nilalagay na cement or what. Uh, Nag-undergo lang ng paddling, meaning to say thorough mixing of the soil, kumbaga, which alter the structure and the result is nagkaroon ng impermeability to water. So you can impound now the water at the rice paddy. Okay. So Upon drying, puddle soils become denser. So, hindi na gaanong buhaghag, denser na. Kasi na-destroy ang pore spaces. Then, harder structures compared to unpaddled soils. Okay, nagiging mas matigas. Tillage without water submergence is difficult. Pag paddled soil, pagkatapos walang tubig, kanya makita ninyo, ang plowing ng after harvesting rice ay magkakaroon muna ng admittance of water dahil yun yung totoo yung sinasabi doon. Ah, Hindi gaanong madali kasi compact na nga yung soil. Okay. Then there are few points. Where is this? Okay, here. This talks about the redox potential. This talks about the oxidized zone, and this talks about the reduced zone in under lowland condition of land preparation. Now, I will not go through. You might not be able to understand what I will be talking, but I'll give you the sort of simple understanding on the redox potential. Now, the redox potential is as defined, it is the measure of the tendency of the uh, chemical species that refers to the chemical elements in the soil, the iron, the manganese, and all the rest. Uh, the measure of the tendency of chemical species, okay, to be oxidized or to be uh, reduced. Okay, what do we mean by oxidized? Uh, it is oxidized, okay, when it loses electrons or donate electrons to its with the donates electrons to the electrode or other chemical species. Okay, so pag nag-donate siya, kumbaga, when it donates electron, it also absorb oxygen or hydrogen, something like that. So that process is called oxidation. So na-oxidize siya. So remember, uh, ang oxidation, merong oxygen. Pag walang oxygen, reduced ang condition. Okay, under reduced condition, the electron is being acquired or absorbed. Okay, so in the chemical species, kumbaga, pag mayroong ganito, tingnan natin, pag mayroong iron, if A, kumbaga, then, uh, nag-acquire siya ng electron, magiging if A3 siya, that is ferrous, then becoming ferric. Okay? So, ang sinasabi doong uh, kasi ang oxidation ay nag-lose or nag-donate siya ng electron. So, between the two chemical species, ferric and ferrous, sa iron. Okay. So, ang sinasabing oxidant doon ay yung may capacity to donate. Kasi ang definition ng oxidation ay mag-donate or mag-lose or mag-release ng electron, yung Fa3. Okay? So, ang sinasabing reductant doon, kung baga, oxidant ang isa, reductant ang isa, ay yung may capacity to absorb. Yun yung Fe or ferrous. Okay, so ang sinasabi, ang process na ito has something to do with trying to make available the uh, chemical species or chemical elements for the plants. So that's the idea. Under wet condition, under lowland land preparation, mayroong certain chemical species na sinasabi na kumbaga abundant doon or present doon at ito yung direction that will be favored under this particular condition. Under upland condition, it is also itemized in this particular table. So you try to go through reading this one once this will be uploaded for you to further understand about this one. Mm. Kasi pag damihan natin ng salita, pagkatapos hindi talaga ninyo makita yung figure na balik-balikan yung basahin, kumbaga ay mahihirapan din kayong mag-understand. So far, that was the idea. Mhm. So, that's for the table. Now, let's proceed to land preparation for lowland rice. There are three systems. The first system is that land is generally flooded from land preparation uh, throughout the growing period and is only drained prior to harvesting. So, kumbaga, dominant practice ito with our lowland rice fields. Then another system is initial tillage lang ang mayroong kumbaga tubig. Initial tillage is performed before, initial tillage is performed na wala pang tubig, kumbaga, then after that, okay, uh, water will be admitted for the growing duration of the crop. Okay, now there is that another number three. Land is prepared and sown to seed. Okay, in dry condition. Okay, so and is flooded only after seed germination and all throughout the growing season. So, kumbaga, from land preparation to seed sowing, pag na-establish ang tanim, saka na muna mag-irrigate. Whatever, maybe, depending on the convenience of the working manpower in the field, then that will be all right in as long as you know the idea of how and when the moisture is needed by the crop. Okay. Then, conditions, land preparation under submerged conditions. So, it requires plowing once, harrowing twice, and one leveling. So, this one is talking about lowland rice farming. So, one plowing, it depends on the area. If not being followed, nakarest, kumbaga. So, pag nakarest ang area, followed, if A, ang spelling ng followed, pag nakarest ang area, siguro one plowing is not enough. Kasi matigas na matigas yun. Pero kung continuous ang cropping, kumbaga, this might be true. One plowing, two harrowing, one leveling. So, one leveling is intended for uh, leveling up, okay, the whole field so that the distribution of water will be even. Okay? So, pag walang leveling, kumbaga, makikita nyo, may tubig na around 4 centimeters or 5 centimeters, pero may portion pa na hindi submerged. So, mangyayari, pag hindi submerged, the weed seeds will grow and the weeds will start to overpower or outweigh your growing crop. Okay, another. Water requirements. This one is on required number of passes for plowing and harrowing. Next is water requirement. So for water requirement, there is that gradual changes of the admittance of water from the start of the establishment. You will not be submerging deeply the newly transplanted seedlings because that will cause the seedlings to be uprooted. Okay? They will be uprooted if they will be deeply submerged when they are not uh, truly or fairly planted with in considerable depth in the soil. So there is that consideration during wet season and dry season in giving allowances to the evaporation losses. Okay, so wet season, estimate natin sa volume ng tubig kumbaga ay 725 millimeter sa wet season ito. With allowances requirement to soak the land with allowances for evaporation and percolation. Okay, 725 millimeter. Kung dry season naman, 470 millimeter. So that is an allowance, kumbaga. So power source, you decide whether you'll be using a draft type of animal or you'll be using wala namang human pulled farm implements. You can have the tractor, the two legged tractor and the four-wheeled tractor, legged animals. Sabi ng estudyante sa high school, piliin kung ano ang dapat gamitin sa pag-araro. So, pag sinasabing four-legged, ang legged kasi from the word legs. So, ang napili niya ay tractor. So, tinanong, legged, ibig sabihin karabaw. Sana yon. Ang napili ng bata, tractor, tinawag sa teacher. Bakit yun ang nagiging sagot mo? Dahil ligid kasi ang sinasabi, ma'am, ligid. So, tractor ang may ligid. So, four-legged, of course, we're talking about the draft types of animal. Okay. So, even our Department of Agronomy is still using other carabaos for the sake of demonstration in doing land preparation in rice. But they already are equipped with the hand tractors, the two-wheeled and the four-wheeled tractors. So there is another subject in the university from the engineering department where you will be taught on how to manage, how to operate or drive the uh, four-wheeled and the two-wheeled uh, power tillers. Okay? Okay. So, purpose of tillage, of course, develop desirable soil structure, then to incorporate stubble and weed into the soils. Stubbles. Ang stubbles ay yung mga stump, punuan sa mga previous na pananim, kumbaga. Then, use of rotary tillers to further rotivate or pulverize bigger soil clads. So, done after plowing, of course, rotary weeders. Okay. Then, for plowing, the purpose of this is to cut soil into furrow slice, or if I may give a definition for this, plowing is the groundbreaking activity. Groundbreaking, pag groundbreak pa lang kumbaga, plowing or plow ang gagamitin natin. Pag pulverizing na, we'll be using the harrowing implement or harrow. So there could be types of harrow. We have the tooth harrow, the comb harrow, and there is that rotavator. Harrowing pa rin yon. Okay, so they effectively incorporate weeds and stubbles underneath the soil. Okay, here is this harrowing. Okay, the number of plowings and harrowing depends on the following factor. Soil type. So, anong soil type dapat na kung baga madali lang, or anong soil type ang kung baga dapat more harrowing, more plowing ang gagamitin. Okay, simple illustration. Pag Sunday, kumbaga, the soil is fragile. Uh, yes, and the passes for plowing uh, is only requiring one pass only. It's enough. Now, for harrowing, one to two and sometimes one, it's enough. But for clay type of soil, sometimes one pass for plowing is not enough. So the ground breaking can be done in two perpendicular directions. North-south ang mauna, dapat yung pangalawa east-west. Okay, to see to it that all of the area in the field are ground uh, are 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 uh, turned upside down. Okay, so for harrowing, maybe three times. Now another factor could be the density of weeds or what we call as the vegetation. More weeds, more passes. Dapat kailanganin, lalo na sa harrowing. Because our purpose is to incorporate plant debris into the soil. Then, moisture content. Okay. So, sa moisture content naman, pag alanganin, side by side to ha, walang straight ano dito, dapat katamtaman, not too much, kumbaga. Okay. So, depending on it is lowland or upland, dapat kung upland, ang too much water is detrimental to the soil. Magkakaroon kayo ng compaction. Okay. Ang kulang masyado ng tubig ay problema dahil matigas pag upland. So, dapat tama lang. Kumbaga. Then, crop to be grown. So, it depends on crop to be grown. Kung talagang maliliit na crops ang dapat itanim, ay dapat thoroughly prepared ang land. So, more passes ang kailanganin. Okay, so seed crop require better seed bed than a crop normally planted by cuttings dahil maliliit seed crop. Then interval of 2 to 7 days between operation. What do you think? What is the reason why we need an interval? So the interval actually is needed in order to because of two reasons. One is in order to initiate uh, the initial or allow the initial decomposition or dying of the uh, weed plants that are already exposed to an open area. So, pag na-expose na sila, hayaan natin muna 7 days na karoon ng parang initial na drying up or rotting, then bago i-incorporate. Now, another thing, dapat wag nyo munang isunod yung next operation so that the exposed weed seeds, okay? The exposed weed seeds, okay, will germinate first bago uh, second operation. Why? Because ang seeds pag hindi nag-germinate, weed seeds ha, we are talking about weed seeds. Pag hindi yun nag-germinate, ang mangyayari ay magiging dormant lang siya doon. So that's the reason why pag nag-land prep kayo, halimbawa, nag-weeding kayo doon sa backyard, pagkatapos talagang wala nang damo nakikita. Pero why is it that sometimes bigla na lang may makikita kayo maraming sumisibol? Okay. It's because the weed seeds, okay, na natabunan doon are just behaving as dormant. Okay, dormant. Just in dormant condition, kumbaga. So, the moment they become exposed, they will germinate. That's why, mamamatay ang seeds pag uh, i-incorporate natin, mamamatay lang yon pag ang i-incorporate natin ay nag-germinate na, isa ng tanim. Dahil ang tanim nangangailangan ng exposure to sunlight. Pero pag seeds pa ang na-incorporate natin, walang mangyayari doon. Mag-dormant lang siya hanggang sa ma-expose. Okay, so yun yung days for interval. Mababa masyado ang 2. Dapat 7. In agronomy, actually, the 1 to 2 weeks. Ito'y sobrang baba. This is in consideration for a very low vegetation in the area. 2 to 7 days. What if 2 days ang gagamitin? Di walang nangyayari, walang nag-germinate na with seeds. Okay, overpulverization, avoided. So, hindi dapat na sobra. Pag gawin ninyong parang ashes na ang lupa sa balik-balik ng harrowing, kumbaga, then it might create what we call as wind erosion. Even ang medyo malakas-lakas na hangin ay uh, pwedeng tangayin ang soil particle. Okay. Then, characteristics of well-prepared upland, of course, magiging granular siya, free of trash, talagang malinis na. Then, the field is leveled with minimum depressions where water may accumulate. For upland, iniiwasan natin magkaganito sa upland na mayroong portion na kumbaga mag-waterlog. Okay, sa lowland, ang iniwasan natin na magkakaroon kayo ng portion na ma-expose pag nag-submerge kayo. Kasi the submersion of the land surface in lowland rice lowland rice paddy, the submersion of it into the water is also a way of controlling the weeds. Pag hindi pa na-expose yung seeds, hindi pa yon mag-germinate. Pag sinubmerge ninyo, mangyayari, matagal pa magkaroon ng weeds, kumbaga. Pero pag expose ang isang area, lahat ng weeds na nandoon sa surface, mag-germinate na. Okay. Then soil moisture as a factor for good land preparation of upland fields. Okay. Soil moisture. Upland ang pinag-usapan dito, upland fields. Tilling soil, when it is too dry, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, increases power requirement. Matigas kasi. So, mahihirapan ka. Tilling the soil, when it is too wet, will result to compaction. So, hindi rin maganda mangyayari. Ideal moisture lang. So, usually, sinasabi natin at field capacity. So, anong field capacity? How will you know? How will you test field capacity? By some practical means. So, sinasabi, pwede, pag nag-ulan ng isang araw, in 3 days time after the rain, that is, the soil is at field capacity. Ngayon, di mo alam kung nag-ulan, kararating mo lang sa lugar na yon, di mo alam kung nag-ulan ba ng 3 days before. Paano mo malalaman? Kumuha ka ng soil, pagkatapos try mong ilagay sa open palm mo, pagkatapos pag ando na, subukan mong pigain. Okay? Pag nagpiga ka doon at mayroon lang konting makukuha mong tubig, drops of water from that, kumbaga, so, yun ang sinasabi na nasa field capacity siya. Eh, pag ganun mo ng konti lang na pag ganun, talagang maraming tubig ang lumabas, ibig sabihin, that is at saturation point. So, sobra ang tubig doon. So, pag piga mo naman ng ganun ay talagang walang-wala ng tubig, baka naman dry na dry yun. Okay, so kumbaga enough lang na piniga mo pero basa siya pero may kunting parang ah, tutulo doon. Yun yung ah, level ng field capacity. Okay. Practical indicators. Soil should slide freely. Ito naman pala yun. Soil is friable and breaks easily. Okay? Then, freshly cut surface should not glisten with moisture. Ibig sabihin doon, kung sobra ang tubig, pag-cut mo ay parang lalabas yung moisture, kumbaga, yun ay saturated pa. Tillage equipment for upland operation. Uh, Equipment ba tawag sa Carabao? Carabao or Bollock drone. Okay, so ito yung mga draft type kumbaga. Oh, so ganito lang pala. Ang equipment ay yung dinadala ng Carabao, hindi ang Carabao. Moldboard plow, native spike tooth harrow, mayroong comb harrow, mayroong pang rotivator, then hand tractor drone implements, moldboard, disc plow. Ang moldboard plow, kung may nakita kayong hinihila ng Carabao, yun yung moldboard. Moldboard. Okay? May isang blade, parang may ano ako dito, may illustration ako dito, but later part. Ewan ko lang kung andyan pa. Then, yung parang maraming blade na circular na hinihila ng four-wheel tractor, yun yung disc plow. Okay, disc plow. Then we have rotavator or rotatilling. Yun yung mayroong individual blades na marami, rotavator, na ah, parang gumagapag na gumaganon to pulverize the soil. Mayroon ding ang style ay may blade na talagang nagro-rotate na ganyan, na fix na mga blade, kumbaga. So just like the rotavator for lowland area. Wheel siya na metal na rigid pero nagro-rotate. Yung buong wheel talaga. Rotavator pa rin yun. Then tractor four-wheel mounted implements at rear 3-point hitch power by hydraulic lift devices. Disc plow pa rin ang hinihila nito. Mhm. So tandaan, disc plow, yung mga harrow implements could be tooth harrow, comb harrow. Then ang plow dalawang klase, disc plow or moldboard. Mhm. Then sources of power, yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, yung mga draft types. Sa atin, Carabao lang ang makikita. Sa ibang lugar, marami din doon na yung baka, cattle ang ginagamit. Then sa mechanized or motorized naman na power source, pwede kayong yung power tiller, dami, Kubota, anong mga tawag nung iba, Myanmar, anong, marami pa. Pagkatapos, ah, four wheel. Okay, so four wheel, Parmal, ah, dami ngayon na mga Korean at saka Japan na mga makina. Okay. Then planting materials and varieties. So, tapos na tayo sa land preparation. Dito na naman tayo sa crop. Sa planting material or varieties, mamili kayo kung anong gusto nyo. May mga advantages at saka disadvantages dito. Inbred. Okay. Inbred, hybrid, if one kung hybrid, kumbaga, hybrid lines lang, meaning lines na kumbaga, hindi na ganong epektibo. Ang if one ang mataas ang tinatawag na hybrid vigor or heterosis. Okay, so open pollinated, ang open pollinated ay mga variety na kumbaga hindi na hybrid kumbaga. So sa corn, pag sinasabi mong open pollinated lang ang gusto mo, makabili ka flint corn, ibang yellow corn. Pag mga hybrid, mayroong ah, mga bagong release ng mga hybrid ng corn sa ngayon. Ang advantage naman dito, pag gumagamit kayo ng kumbaga if1 hybrid, kumbaga ang yield potential ay napakataas. Okay, yun yung advantage. Ang disadvantage ay mataas din ang required inputs. Kumbaga, dapat ganito karaming abono i-apply. Dapat iwasan na magkaganito. Dapat bantayan ang mga ganito. Ganun yon. Okay, so kung baga ang dating ay open pollinated, yung napaka ano lang, napaka kumbaga native na sa area ay mababa ang requirements. Hindi naman gaanong mataas ang potential yield. Okay. So, classes of seeds, ito kaya yon. Okay, classes of seeds. Sa type of planting materials, seeds, or grain crops, vegetables crops, forage crops, grasses, legumes, and fiber crops. Uh, Sabihin ninyo, itong iba, fiber crops, baka hindi seeds yung kailanganan nyo doon. Pero in general terms, pag sinasabing seed material or seed pieces, posibleng tanim na yon, posibleng seed yun. Ang ibig sabihin ay for planting ang gagamitin o for seeding ang gagamitin. Okay. So, vegetable materials, mayroong stem cutting, meron din kayo makukuha ng seeds. So, kung sino sa inyo ang nagtatanim ng kangkong, ang kangkong usually, yung vines ang tinatanim natin, the immature part. Pero in the department, sa Department of Horticulture, you can buy the seeds of kangkong. Okay, so tubers for potato, then bulbs for onion, then corms for taro or gabi, and rhizomes for some other crops like rami and ginger, rhizome. Okay. Then for seed storage, what you are to note is the optimum temperature for storage. So 12 to 14% moisture content, and that optimum temperature ay moisture has something to do with the uh, germin germinability of the seeds. Kung baga, beyond that, mayroong problema. Pag ituyo nyo rin ng sobra, may problema kayo sa germination. Okay, so dapat ang lagayan, ang container ay airtight containers because you are prescribing the moisture content. Pag open, it will absorb moisture. So airtight dapat siya. Sealable cans, bottles, ang pwede. Then use of DC cans. So moisture pa rin ang pinag-usapan dito. Paggamit ng DC cans, dry charcoal, silicone seal, kumbaga, airtight. Pagkatapos siyempre may empty space yung container, ibig sabihin may air doon. In the air, mayroon tayong tinatawag na RH or relative humidity. The moisture in vapor or gas form present in the air, that is relative humidity. Ngayon, pag wala kang gagamitin na desiccants, kumbaga, yun ay ma-absorb doon sa seeds. So, dapat may desiccants upang ang desiccants na gagamitin ay yun yung mag-absorb sa moisture. Then, refrigerator and dehumidifier. Okay. So, gumamit kayo ng mga modifications kung ang pinangalanan dito ay walang refrigerator. So, in higher laboratory exercises or in laboratory exercises of higher horticulture courses, mayroon kayong mga laboratory as to how to devise, okay, modified storage for seeds. Okay, so pre-germination treatment. Pre-germination, bago mag-germinate, kumbaga, ano bang pwedeng gagawin? Seed treatment with the fungicide as protectants against fungal diseases. So, pwedeng itago natin, pero may treatment muna. Then, itong vernalization, this is otherwise termed as cold treatment. Okay? To enhance germination. Pasok muna natin ng ilang oras sa refrigerator. Parang gulatin natin doon sa lamig. Pagkatapos, we are thinking that by so doing, you will increase the germination percentage. Then, seed inoculation, this is something to, mag-inoculate gani, you are talking about something live, kumbaga. So, this has something to do with trying to use some inoculants. For example, in legumes, kung gusto nyo magkaroon ng uh, increased potential for nodulating capacity. Ang legumes kasi, pag nag-nodulate, it acquires by itself through the nodules nitrogen na pinoproseso niya. The plant is getting that nitrogen from the air by the help of the rhizobium. Yun yung inoculants. Yun yung pwedeng ilagay nyo doon sa seeds upang ma-develop na ngayon yung kumbaga rhizobium doon sa root system at maging malakas ang kumbaga pagkuha ng elemental nitrogen from the air. Okay, so In that way, then seed inoculation. Okay? Preparing planting materials, for example, root crops, in particular cassava, mature portion of the stem, 7 months old, pwede na. Ang kasaba kasi, pag itanim ninyo upang kainin, 8 months pwede na. Pero pag gawin yung flower, dapat abot mo na ng mga around 10 months. Mas mataas ang uh, magiging uh, production ng flower. Okay, ito ay intended for table purposes, 7 months pwede. Ngayon, pag nagtatanim kayo at 7 months old sa tanim ko baga, pwede nang magiging planting material yung stem ng kasaba. Now, class, you try to think na hindi lahat this is not a straightforward procedure na ang gamitin pag nagtanim kayo ay ang mature na portion. Okay? Sa kasaba, mature na portion. Sa ibang tanim, may disadvantage ang paggamit sa mature na portion. Okay. So, you try to note with the length, around 20 to 25 centimeters. Then, cut stalks remain viable for 5 months if properly stored. Ibig sabihin, pwede mo i-transport ng malayo. Kasaba yon. Kung sugar cane, no, ito yung sinasabi ko. Top portion of the stalk. Ibig sabihin, the immature part. Top portion. That's why, the procedure is also advantageous so that when you harvest sugar cane, when you get the planting material for sugarcane, you do not necessarily lost your harvest. Why? Because you can still harvest the stems for sugar at the same time using the immature part, the top portion of the stalk as the planting material. So in this case, the top portion is more advantageous in terms of fast regeneration. Mm, it is a principle but not true to all na pag ang tissue ay immature, mataas ang regrowing or growing potential. Kanya nga pag tao may problema ka, matanda na, hindi na i-recommend sa doktor na i-opera dahil hindi na maghilom ang sugat. Hindi na maghilom ang sugat pag i-opera na sobrang tanda na. Okay, dahil tissues are already mature. Pero pag bata pa, i-recommend ng operation kaagad kasi walang problema. Madaling maghilom ang sugat. Okay. So, sweet potato or kangkong, vine cuttings. So, vine cuttings, mga 25 to 30 centimeters from tip portion. So just the same with sugar cane. I suppose based on experience, my thesis is sweet potato in agronomy. Okay, agronomy ako sa BS, agronomy ako sa masters, PhD, horticulture ako sa PhD. So ang thesis ko sweet potato sa BS. Kahit hindi top portion ng sweet potato ay performing pa rin. Pero mas mabilis pa rin mag-recover at saka faster ang growth kung top portion talaga sa immature part. Okay. Then white potato, chober, ang pwedeng gamitin. Recommended varieties for all of those planting materials. Kung pwede lang at kung meron lang. Kung baga. Now, mas maganda talaga kung yung mga varieties na gagamitin ay registered. Ibig sabihin, approved in terms of quality. So, may assurance kayo doon. Ang problema, pag wala kayong makukunan. Okay, just like rice. Kung ang palagi niyong binibili ay certified or registered seeds ng rice, assured kayo na maganda talaga ang performance at saka walang off-type gaano doon. Ibig sabihin ng off-type, minsan nagtatanim kayo ng rice, ang nangyayari pag tingin nyo doon sa field, multi-story. Ibig sabihin may matataas, mayroong mga bababa. Ibig sabihin marami ang off-type doon. Kung anong variety ang kinuha nyo, hindi kasali sa variety doon yung iba ang tayo, iba ang tindig. Kumbaga, Pero pag registered or certified variety ng rice ang kukunin ninyo, talagang halos pareho uniform yon kasi walang off type. Now dito, ito yung kumbaga bureau ng Department of Agriculture, sub-bureaus ng Department of Agriculture, sub-departments. Philippine Seed Board, ito yung dati. Binago na sa ngayon, wala nang PSB sa ngayon. Mga varieties na lang nagawa nila dati, natitira. So, may mga varieties na PSB ang nakalagay. Halimbawa, sa rice, PSB RC 18. Masarap na variety yon. Sa ngayon, hindi na. Mayroong iba na ang tawag. Mayroong RC18 na iba na rin. Hindi na yung PSB RC. Dahil ang nangangasiwa ngayon ay ito ng INSIC, National Seed Industry Council. So pag may nakita kayong talagang may notable characteristics na fruits or agronomic or horticultural crops at gusto ninyong ipa-certify as a variety, dito ninyo isa-submit. Okay, then you will undergo the procedure, the monitoring, and the sampling. Then after 3 cropping season yata. So, ibig sabihin, pag fruits yun, uh, tatlong pamumunga muna. Isasubmit mo doon at i-characterize nila. Saka magkakaroon ng decision kung approve as a variety. Then, you choose as to how you will call the variety. So, you can name it after your name if you wish. So, yun yung variety na sinamit mo doon. Okay. So, scientific development in crop breeding. So, this is varietal improvement. Kumbaga, improvement in plant type or IDO type. Okay. So, itong IDO type, this has something to do. Plant type, i-improve natin. Halimbawa, meron tayong pagpalagay na lang natin, rambutan. Meron tayong malalaki ang bunga, hindi naman matamis. Mayroon tayong maliliit ang bunga, pagkatapos sobrang tamis naman. Ngayon gusto natin yung malaki na matamis. Ibig sabihin, you now have the chance of trying to combine the good characteristics from both of the types that you have. Okay, yung maliliit at yung malaki. Kung baga. So, hindi lang yung isa kasi yung morphological, isang 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 kumbaga isang ano yon, isang breeding time yon. Pagkatapos yung quality naman ay another. Pag nakuha mo yung kalaki, isunod mo naman yung quality. So, yun yung sa plant type. Ang IDO type naman, this has something to do with the quality of the crop in terms of mga biocidal, mga pharmaceutical property, kumbaga, na pwede kayong mag-breed upang ma-improve pa yung kung anong content upang magamit siya as base material doon sa pharmaceuticals or pesticides na purposes ba. Okay? So, exploitation of heterosis or hybrid vigor. You need to understand this one class. Ano ibig sabihin ng hybrid vigor? Ibig sabihin, pag pag si plant A, hybridize mo ni plant B, anong intention mo doon? Okay. So, ang intention mo doon ay upang makuha mo ang strength, okay, na wala ni plant A, wala rin ni plant B, pero nando doon lang sa offspring nilang dalawa. So, ibig sabihin, the the higher quality of the offspring that cannot be found from both of the parents, yun yung tinatawag na heterosis or hybrid vigor. Yun yung after natin. So, kasi nasabi ko kanina, hybrid tayo ng dalawang klase ng rambutan. Kung isa malaki pero hindi matamis, ang isa maliit pero matamis, ibig sabihin, ang hybrid vigor ng if one or yung offspring, immediate offspring doon sa pag-hybridize natin, ayun yung vigor, yung heterosis doon, ayun yung size at saka quality na nandoon sa kanya na hindi mo makikita yung nagiging malaki na matamis. Wala naman yun sa father. Nagiging malaki na matamis. Wala naman yun sa mother kasi sa mother matamis lang. Oh, yung sa father malaki lang. Ibig sabihin yun yung nasa kanya. Yun yung after natin. Okay. Then, methods of planting annual crops. Mayroong direct seeding, mayroong tinatawag na transplanting. Tingnan natin kung ano pang nakasunod. Okay, yun lang dalawa. Annual crops, direct seeding, mayroong transplanting. Now, paano ito? Under direct seeding, pwede mong gawing broadcast, pwede mong gawing drilled or drilling in rows, pwede mong gawing hill method within rows, pwede mong gawing dibble method. Okay. So, ano yung dalawa? Wala akong maipakita dito kasi pwedeng sa demonstration ko dati, bawat isa nito mayroon akong parang caricature. Pwede niyong tingnan. So, pag nakakita kayo ng uh, nag nag-aabono sa lowland rice, sa palay, kumbaga, makikita ninyo, mayroon sisidlan ng abono dito sa biwang. Pagkatapos, dudukutin ngayon yung abono sa kamay. Pagkatapos, ihahagis doon na the manner of throwing the fertilizer is in a way na kumbaga mag-spread out yung fertilizer doon sa field. Ang broadcasting ay ganon. So, kinuha mo lang pagkatapos, ginanon mo lang yung seeds at yung purpose mo sa paghagis ay upang ma-distribute evenly but not sure, pero yun yung purpose mo na evenly ma-distribute doon sa field. That is broadcasting. Ginagawa ito usually under upland rice condition. Bihira sa practice natin dito kasi ang mga farmers ay seryoso naman. As sorry for my kung uh, uh, no offense, may mga observation na ginagawa pa ito to some lowland rice farmers sa Samar. Okay, so konting land preparation, pagkatapos may tubig na, then finally leveled na yung rice paddy. Pagkatapos, ayun, nagbo-broadcast na sila ng palay. So, iba ang palay, iba ang rice, iba ang seeds sa palay ha. Pag sinasabing uh, palay, that is undehulled sa to pa may balat pa na hindi pa natin alam yung purpose. Pag na-desisyon na pwedeng ito'y hindi natin ipa-meal, hindi ipagiling. Ito'y itatanim natin. Yun, seeds na yon. Rice seeds. Okay, so yung pagkasabi ko kanina, hindi palay dapat. Seeds. Okay. So, ihahagis lang nila doon yon at fully occupied yung the whole rice paddy, then tapos na. Pagkatapos ang sabi ng iba, sakay daw ng Peltranco. Pagkatapos puntang Maynila, tatrabaho doon. After 4 months, parang palapit na yung harvesting, uwi na rin upang mag-harvest. Nagiging self-supporting ngayon yung rice. Anyway, hindi kami nagsabi noon, may nagsabi lang. Anyway, so broadcast. Now, dito naman sa drilling, ibig sabihin sa drilling in rows, mayroon kang rows, usually yung row ay the traces of what we call as farrowing implement. So mayroong farrowing implement na hinihila pa rin ng either motorized na na tiller or tilling machine or yung animal drone kumbaga. So pag hinihila yung papunta doon, ang mangyayari, mayroong depressed na portion, mayroong elevated na portion. Okay. Faro yung depressed, kumbaga, ridge yung nandito sa itaas. Okay. So, usually, ang mga ganyan, pag dinidrill, doon itinanim sa depressed or sa faro. So, pag sinasabing drill, dukutin mo yung yung seeds. Okay, nakalagay sa kamay. Yung iba nasa pouch. Pagkatapos butasan yung pouch, pagkatapos dalhin mo simula dito sa pinakaumpisa ng faro, okay, ng row, ay ibuhos mo ng dahan-dahan, uniformly, kumbaga, hanggang sa dumating ka doon sa dulo ng faro or row. So that is drilling. Binuhos lang, drilling. Drilled, kumbaga, binuhos lang. Okay, ito namang hill method within rows, kumbaga, mayroon kang row, pero mayroon kang designated na lalagyan na magiging puno ng tanim mo. Yun yung hill. Okay, yun yung hill. So, taasan mo doon, pagkatapos lagay yung ano doon, pag sumisibol na, ay alagaan mo na lang yung base ng plant. Yun yung hill method. Ito namang D-ball method, usually ginagawa ito sa upland rice na walang plowing na ginagawa. Yan sinasabi nila na banika. Halimbawa, may kaingin system ginagawa sa Mindanao. I really observed the process of doing this in our own land in Mindanao. So, thick forest, pagkatapos nilalaging yung mga, hindi naman binibinta, tinutumba lang yung mga forest trees na marami. Pagkatapos around 2 months, parang dry na uh, yung trunk dry na, yung branches dry na, yung leaves dry na. Nangyayari, sunugin. So, sunugin ngayon ng lahat. Pagkatapos, pag nasunog, sunog lahat ng vegetation pero maraming plant debris sa area. Mayayari, pag dibol, kumuha lang yung mga maraming manubo doon sa Mindanao na nandoon kami. Manubo, alam nila yon. Yung ah, parang mataas na straight na mataas na stem ng puno, ah, may gawin nilang matulis yung dulo. Pagkatapos mayroong isang tao na ang trabaho niya ay ganon-ganon lang yung matulis na dulo doon sa lupa at a distance of around mga 1 foot 1 foot kada butas, ganon. May iba ring nasa likuran niya na sumusunod sa kanya at nilalagyan ng 2 to 3 seeds yung bawat butas na ginagawa ng nagaganon. So, yun ay dibol. Dibol method ang tawag noon. Parang hindi gaanong sukat kung ano yung distansya, pero ginagawa, kung hill kasi parang sukat. Itong hill method, parang may distance between row ka, at saka may distance between rows, may distance between hill in a row. Bale. So, yun yung hill method. Pag dibol, parang sporadic, pero nakalocalize pa rin. Okay. Now, dito sa transplanting ay iba. Gumagawa muna kayo ng germination site, usually seedbed yun, upang sisibol muna ang pananim. Tsaka na i-transplant doon sa field. So, yun yung kaibahan. Usually, ang may nagpractice, sabi ko sa summer, may narinig pa kami, uh, nagpa-practice pa ng broadcasting ng lowland rice. Pero dito sa atin, bihira or wala na kaming narinig nga nagpa-practice na ganon. Ibo-broadcast, ita-transplant na. So, gumawa mo ng temporary na seed bed, either dry bed, wet bed, or mayroong tinatawag na dapog. Pagkatapos, pag may sumusibol ng ganito kataas, kumbaga, ay ready na rin yung field, i-transplant na doon na nakadesign talaga yung distance ng row, distance ng hill in a row. Okay. So, transplanting. Anong advantages kung nagta-transplant kayo? Kasi yung iba nagbo-broadcast. Okay, so plant have a head start in growth over the weeds. So, totoo. Ibig sabihin, yung day ng transplanting ay yun yung bago pa lang na finally leveled ang field. Ibig sabihin, kung mayroon mang damo, nakabaon pa doon. Andoon sa ilalim, mamamatay na lang yon. Kung mayroon mang weed seeds na mai-expose later on kasi may tubig yon, later pa yon mag-grow. Pero yung nilagay ninyo na kung baga tinatransplant ninyo na rice seedling ay ganito nakahaba. Kung baga, usually that is 16 days. Okay, to 25, not more than 25. Okay, so mga ganun kahaba or more ng konti, kumbaga, may head start na, nakauna na. Remember na ang labanan sa weeds at saka sa crop ay sunlight. So kung sino makakuha ng mauna, ay yun yung may advantage. Then, crop stays for a shorter time in the field. Nauna na niyang nakuha yung time for germination at nagiging seedling siya na ganito, kung baga, minus number of days na yon. 123 usually yung mga tinatawag na medium maturing variety. Medium. Okay. So, yung mas mahaba pa kaysa ganyan, yun yung late maturing. Yung naharvest naman ng mga 110, yun yung sinasabi na early maturing. Okay, there is in weeding operation kung transplanting. Bakit? Dahil mayroon na tayong design pag transplanting, that is 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. Square yon. Bale, square sa lowland rice. So, madali ang pagwiwid, especially sa lowland rice. Kung bakit? Kung sa lowland rice siya, dahil yung 20 centimeters ay intended for the weeder, yung ruler na weeder, yung tinutulak lang na ganon, 20 less, a bit less than 20 centimeters na makaasya doon sa distance between rows upang uh, mag, magagamitin sa weeding operation. Now, yung isang point kung bakit sinasabi there is that ease in weeding operation, it's because pag nag-transplant ka, defined na ngayon yung plant over the crop. Kasi pag sabay silang sumisibol doon sa field, di mo makita, akala mo weeds, baka yung na weed mo, yung na-uproot mo kumbaga, ayun pang plant, hindi ang weed. So, mas madali pag transplanting. Madali mo makilala kung which is the crop, which is the weed. Okay, direct seeding on paddled soil, at ayun na yung sinabi kanina. Then dryland direct seeding of rice. Yun din yung sinasabi ko. Direct seeding could be broadcasted, could be debulk. Direct seeding, ibig sabihin, tinatanim mo, hindi tinatanim. Nilalagay mo doon sa lupa na buto pa, seeds pa. Hindi pa nag-germinate. Kasi, uh, class, you try to remember this one. There is that difference when you say, uh, I have attended a presentation of thesis outline. Sinasabi ng estudyante na when I plant the seed, mali yun. You cannot plant the seed. You can plant only the plant. So the seed, you can sow the seed. You cannot plant the seed. Mali din yung pag sinasabi nyo, when I sow the seedling, hindi rin. Kasi pag seedling, tanim na yon, tinatanim mo yon. You plant the seedling. You sow the seed. Okay, so dry land, direct seeding of rice. Pwede. Okay, methods of raising seedling. Ito yung sinasabi ko. Pag wheat bed, kumbaga, submerge na yung pagsuso ninyo sa of course, yung umpisa na maglalagay kayo doon, talagang softened na softened. Defined, well paddled yung tinatawag na seed bed. Dito sa wheat bed ha, na design. Lalagay nyo ngayon yung pre-germinated na yan, ang rice. 24 hours na inano yun, sinok sa tubig na 24 hours. Pagkatapos kunin doon at i-incubate, ibig sabihin, lagay mo doon sa sisilan na sako na basa, hayaan mong lumabas mo na yung radical, yung root initials. Pagkatapos, i-spread out mo dito sa wet bed na talagang sopen na sopen, wala pang tubig. Wala pang tubig. So, in few days time, uh, sobrang bilis ang ano niyan. Sisibol ngayon yung mag-germinate na. Slowly, increase mo rin yung level ng tubig. Okay. So kung bakit soften na soften at saka may tubig upang hindi magha-harden yung seedbed niya at nang mag-uproot kayo ay walang distraction doon sa roots. Okay. So hindi napuputol yung mga roots pag uproot nyo. Ganon. Okay. Ang dapog naman ay iba. Ito yung pagre-raise ng palay, same pa rin yung soaking, same pa rin yung incubation, 24 hour, 24 hour. Pagkatapos paglabas ng radical, i-spread mo doon sa simento na may mating na, pwedeng may mating na yung banana leaves, pwede rin yung mga Manila papers, pwede rin ang mating doon. Pagkatapos, i-cover lang ninyo ng something na hindi mo na madisturbo yung germinating seeds. Pag lumakalaki ng kaunti, kumbaga, ay itry ninyo na i-maintain yung pagiging basa niya. Pagkatapos, habang nag-grow ng ganito, it should not be more than a little more than ano lang yan, a little more than 10 days kung mayroon man, pero dapat hindi susobra doon. Okay? Magkakaroon na kayo ng time for transplanting. Niro-roll lang ng parang mat yung sa dapog kasi nasa simento siya nilalagay. Niro-roll lang siya ng parang mat. So dinadala mo doon parang mat, dinadala sa field at doon mo na paghiwa-hiwain yung manageable na size upang mag-umpisang magtanim. Okay, yun yung sa dapog. Sa dry bed naman ay kagaya lang ng wet bed pero walang tubig na ina-admit doon. Mini-maintain lang ang tamang moisture content, hindi submerged sa dry bed. Okay. Lahat ito ay pinapractice dito sa atin. Parang 10 years ako na nagmamanage sa rice farm production ng secondary department ng university. Okay. Then, planting methods for upland rice, may broadcast, may drilling. Ayun na yung sinasabi natin kanina. Seeding seeds in hills within a row. Okay. Then, plant population density planting. Ito. Tingnan natin ito. Plant population density planting. So, we're talking about plant population. Gaano ba karami ang pwedeng gamitin sa isang farm na ganito ang size? So, yun yung plant population kumbaga. So, pwede nating tingnan din, plant population densities are adjusted according to the following factors. So, season of planting. So, sa season of planting at saka sa fertility level of the soil, ano ang desisyon natin na maging in terms of the plant population. So, bigay tayo ng, do not forget this one. Bigay tayo ng example. Okay. Sa season of planting, for example, hindi naman sinasabi dito na upland or lowland. Okay. Sabihin natin upland. Pagkatapos, ang season of planting, pagpalagay natin na tag-ulan. Okay? So, mayroong range karamihan ang tinatawag na plant population. This one, you can go for 20,000 to 30,000 plants per hectare. Parang ganon. Range yun, range. So, just for you to understand how these factors will affect in trying to decide the plant population. Ang season, for example, tag-ulan. Kung tag-ulan, you can go for the maximum. Why? Because kung tag-ulan, ang pinag-usapan dito ay ang factor ng availability of moisture. Dahil tag-ulan, walang problema in terms of competition of moisture. Okay, so you can go for the maximum. Now, hindi natin alam kung ano yung maximum. Pero yun yung ibig kong sabihin na in a range, you can go for the higher plant population based on the minimum and the maximum kung sigurado kayo ang moisture ay available. Tag-ulan ang sinasabi ko na season. Ngayon, pag upland ha, pinag-usapan. Ngayon, kung kasi sa lowland, wala naman tayong problema kahit tag-ulan or tag-init kasi impounded man yung water. Okay. So, ngayon, upland pa rin, tag-init. So, kung tag-init, ang alam natin kung tag-init, limitado, bukod na lang sa kung uulan, limitado ngayon yung moisture at there shall be, okay, competition, tinatawag natin na interplant competition in terms of moisture. So, the most practical decision you can make is to go for the minimum plant population. Minimum. Okay, so you go for, yung example natin ganiha, 20,000 to 30,000 per hectare, you go for 20. You go for the minimum. Okay, example lang yon. So, that is as far as season is concerned as a factor in trying to decide plant population. Now, dito sa fertility. Sa fertility naman, okay, same example. Nasa upland tayo, ang identified na range of plant population in that crop which we do not know, ginamit lang natin sa example, ah, dito naman sa fertility level. Sabihin natin na highly fertile ang lupa. Okay, highly fertile ang lupa. Okay, kung highly fertile ang lupa, you go for the minimum. Baligtad. You go for the minimum plant population. Kung less fertile ang lupa, you go for the maximum. Okay, pwede kayo magtanong, bakit? Dahil ganito, ang isang problema natin dito ay magkaroon kayo ng indirect kumbaga consideration doon sa competition on uh, sunlight. Okay. Competition sa sunlight. Why? Dahil it is expected pag fertile ay tutubo ng mabilis yung mga tanim. Okay. So pag tutubo ng mabilis yung tanim kong baga, halimbawa, fruit trees ang ginamit natin. Okay, dito tayo sa fruit trees. Pwede nating i-8 by 8 ang prutas. Pwede nating hindi na rice, hindi tayo doon sa ano. Hindi tayo rice. Dito tayo sa fruit trees. Okay. So, sa prutas ganito. Pagpalagay natin, ang recommendation niya ay pwedeng i-8 by 8, pwedeng i-10 by 10. Ngayon, pag ang lupain ay highly fertile, kumbaga, the suggestion is for you to go for a lower plant population. Kung bakit? Dahil sigurado na pag fertile ay tutubo ng mabilis. Yung maximum growth makukuha niya. Ngayon, ang mangyayari, magkaroon kayo ng competition sa sunlight. Now, remember na kung prutas yung naging example natin, perennial crop yun. Once na itanim mo, fix na yon na nandoon. So, anong mangyayari kung nag-overshading yung mga prutas mo doon? Remember, pag nag 8 by 8 kayo, sa isang ektarya, magkakaroon kayo ng 156 trees as your total plant population in a hectare. Ngayon, kung na-anticipate nyo yun, highly fertile. So, tutubo ng mabilis. Siguro, madaling magpang-abot ang branches ng dalawang puno. I-space natin ng 10 by 10. Ang mangyari, magkakaroon lang kayo ng total plant population a hectare of around 100. So, ibig sabihin, kahit mabilis ang pagtubo, hindi magpang-abot yun. Okay, so ganon. Anyway, I hope you really get my point. Meron pala akong example dito. Hindi example. Doon pa sa ano. Ito yung, ini-explain ko lang. Ito yung season of planting. Ito yung fertility level of the soil. So, yun yung explanation. Okay, next. Estimation of planting. Hell method of planting corn space at 75 centimeters. Ito, kumbaga, subukan nyo na paano computein ang plant population. Okay. Given this following, space at 75 centimeter between rows, 75. Ang distance between rows, 75 centimeters in meter. This is 0.75 meters. Sorry, meter. 0.75. 50 centimeter between hills in a row. Okay? Between hills in a row. Sa ito pa, the distance between hills in a row is 0.5 meter. 0.5. Ngayon, sabi dito, maintain at 2 plants per hill. Question, how will you compute the plant population? How will you compute the plant population? Okay, I suppose that I have my illustration here. You'll be given with the table na ifa-follow nyo na lang pero hindi nyo alam yung computation. Here, I am giving you an example for you to know how it was computed. Okay, so drill method, Mong Ben drilled at 30 seeds per linear meter and rows spaced at 50 centimeters. In this case, ang population natin dito will be based on your computation in the area, how many rows you have in that area. How many rows? So for example, kung isang ektarya, gawin ninyong 50 centimeter ang spacing ng isang row. Sa to pa 50 centimeter. Pagkatapos, ang length ng ano doon ay 100 meters sa isang ektarya. 100 by 100 is 10,000 square meters. Sa to pa 100 meters yung length niya at 100 rows din yung nandoon. So, yun yung ibig sabihin. Ngayon, i-compute nyo na lang na drilled at 30 seeds per linear meter. Sa to pa, kung 30 seeds per linear, mayroon kayong 30 katig sa 100 meters times 30 seeds times 100 rows. So, ganong karami. Okay, so, kumbaga, iba ang way doon sa drilled lang kasi binubuhos nyo lang eh. Ang tansya ay 30 seeds per linear meter yung nabuhos ninyo na seeds. Now, dito tayo sa number 1 hill method. Kung halimbawa, fruit trees ito, ito ay hindi fruit trees, ito ay cereals. Ito ay distansya ng corn. Okay. 0.75 distance between rows, 0.5 or 0.50 meter distance between hills in a row and maintained at 2 plants per hill. Okay, tingnan natin. Okay, ito yon. Sample computation. Given, ang distance ay ito. Between rows, 0.75 meter. Between hills, 0.5 meter. And number of plants per hill, 2. Okay, solusyon. Steps in the computation. Number 1, get the area per hill by multiplying the distance between rows and the distance between hills in a row. So, area per hill muna ang tingnan ninyo. Okay. Our goal here is to be able to compute the plant population. Now, the given is, mayroon kayong distansya between rows, mayroon kayong distansya between hills in a row, at mayroon kayong number of plants per hill. Okay. So, ang una nyong dapat malaman, okay, ilang hills ba mirong kayo based on the given distances, kumbaga, in a hectare. Dahil pag alam nyo na yon, kung sa isang hektarya, ilang hills andan doon, i-multiply nyo na lang yon sa number of plants per hill at makukuha nyo na kaagad yung plant population. Gets? Okay. Let us try to go through the given example. Okay. So, sabi ko, ang una, get the area per hill by get the area per hill. Yun yung una. Yung sunod, divide the whole area used. In our example, 1 hectare. Divide the whole area used by the number of hills. Okay? Then, number 3, multiply the total number of hills by the given number of plants per hill. Tingnan natin. Okay, kung makuha. Okay. Ito yon. Number 1, dapat makuha natin ang area per hill. Ito na yon. Multiply natin yung distance between row and distance between hills in a row equals 0.375 square meters. Kung bakit square meters ang unit? Kasi square meters ang nagiging unit dahil ito 0.75 meter. Then, yung distance between hills in a row is 0.5 meters. Kanya nga, square centimeter ang unit ito. This is now the area per hill. Okay. So, how to get the number of hills in the given area? So, 1 hectare ang given area. i-divide natin ang given area by the area per hill. So, ito yung number 2. So, number of hills equals given area 10,000, 1 hectare, 10,000 square meters divided by the area per hill which is equal to 0.375 square meter. Okay, dito na. So, cancel the units. Square meter. Then, you have 10,000 divided by 0.375. That is equal to 26,667. Round off natin ito kasi the figures may be in non-terminating decimal. 26,666.66666. So, ginawa natin whole number 26,667. This is the number of hills. So, meron na kayong number of hills in a hectare. Ngayon, may given a number of plants in a hill to be maintained. And that was 2. Therefore, the total number of hills times 2. Ito yun. In order to get the total plant population. 2,667 times 2 equals 53,334 plants. This is the total population in 1 hectare for the corn with the given distance between row and distance between hills in a row and the number of plants per hill. Okay, so you might review this one. This might come out during the exam. I'll be giving you problem solving. Then this is a good example to try and review in order to know how to get the plant population. So here you have the tables. Mayroon kayong guide, kumbaga. Basahin nyo na lang yung guide. Okay? So ganito nga crop, ganito yung row, ganito yung hill, ito yung number of plants per hill, ito yung karami na dapat nyo i-prepare. May mga allowances pa doon sa tinatawag nating yung survival rate, kumbaga. So, mayroon kasing ibang mga seeds na sinasabi na ang percent germination or viability ay 80% lang. Ibig sabihin, mayroon kayong 20% na dapat i-recover. Magiging allowance ngayon yun sa procurement ninyo. Kasi pag 20% lang, in toto rin na ang binili ninyo ay yun yung lumabas sa competition, ibig sabihin yung actual ay kulang. Kasi hindi naman lahat mag-germinate. Okay, so water management refers to the regulatory or control system employed in the farm, water management, in which water is made available to crops at the time it is needed. Deals also with the drainage, water supply, rainfall, or irrigation. So, again, the drainage here could be both the drainage in terms of trying to manage the excess water and the drainage in terms of the characteristics of the soil to release in whatever way, dispose in whatever way the standing water in the area in the shortest possible time. So, yun yung isang concept sa drainage. Drainage as a good characteristics of the soil and drainage in terms of a management that can be done by the farmer in order to manage the excess amount of water in the field. So, let us try. Here, total amount of water required to bring a crop to complete its life cycle. Ito, mga computation na, water requirement of a crop. So, based on research, you can set up your own research for this. Pwede na. I-quantify nyo yung pinakaunang binigay hanggang sa makompleto yung life cycle, kumbaga. Okay, so, represents a fraction used by plant for hydration and biological processes. Hydration lang yung binibigay lang ninyo upang gamitin sa tanim at saka yung iba pa rin yung biological processes. Pag sinasabing water requirement, kasali yung dalawa. Okay. Greater amount is lost due to evaporation, transpiration, runoff, and percolation. Ang evaporation, this is the process given to which water is lost, okay, from the soil surface. So, naglagay, may tanim, nasa field, nilagyan mo ng tubig, pagkatapos, pag i-quantify natin kung saan pumunta yung tubig, yung iba, na-absorb ng tanim. Yung iba, lost through evaporation, which means it was lost via the surface of the soil. Now, yung iba, lost through transpiration. Pag transpiration, yun yung inabsorb ng tanim, then nag-transpire ang tanim that the plants, the water was lost via the surface of the plant leaves, the bigger bulk, and some other exposed portion of the plants, the stems could be one also. Then runoff, itong runoff, kumbaga, at saka percolation, ang runoff has something to do with the loss of water after the full capacity of the soil to absorb the water, and the rest are not being absorbed and retained at the surface. Then this moisture at the surface will be lost as it escape horizontally from the soil surface. Kumbaga. So, nara sa imabaw na na-absorb. Okay? Pagkatapos, hing-drain na lang siya horizontally. That is runoff. Okay? Then another is water could be lost through percolation. Okay. Na some were lost through evaporation. But some still on the soil surface lost via the downward movement, uh, going down deep to the soil subsurface. Mo na percolation kumbaga. Nihunob padong sa ubos. Okay. So here we have the illustration on the water balance. So mayroong tanim dito, ibig sabihin. So kung ipa-illustrate, if I will make you illustrate the water balance, how water is being introduced and disposed from the field, ito yung dapat nyong gawin. So, sinasabi dito, the source could be dalawa, irrigation, yung artificially applied. Pwedeng artificially applied, lagay natin dito sa tanim, pwede. Then, another source could be from a nearby area, mayroong sort of diffusion of water. Ito kasi, ang sabi dito, inflow seepage. Pag inflow seepage, mayroong kumbaga medium na doon siya tumagos. Seepage ang tawag doon. Halimbawa, ito, kung rice ito. So, rice paddy. Rice paddy, mayroong kahon. Mayroong parang square na o rectangle na na-impound yung tubig doon. Yun yung paddy ang tawag nga, rice paddy. Okay. So, it is very possible na yung nearby paddy may tubig at saka dito sa parang sinasabing dike, kumbaga, ay may seepage. Ibig sabihin, tumagos dito at napunta yung ibang tubig galing dito sa kabila, papunta dito. Seepage, inflow seepage. Now, ang seepage, kung pwede rin magkaroon ng ibang direction, we can have an outflow seepage na galing din dito sa pananim mo, rice paddy mo, kumbaga, ay nag-escape ngayon horizontally, passing through a medium, ito yung dike, ang water, ito yung sinasabi na seepage outflow. Okay. So, dito. Ngayon, ibang source could be rainfall. Okay, ito na. Precipitation, rainfall. Na-trap dito yung tubig, kumbaga. Now, after that, mayroon kayo standing water dito. Ang iba naman ay pwedeng papunta vertically sa subsurface ng soil. Deep percolation. Okay. So, andito na yung lahat yung papunta at saka yung escape niyang isa na nakita natin ay seepage. Okay. Mayroong dalawang escape pa sa kung saan ay pwedeng mawawala yung tubig. Yung evaporation, kita natin dito, daaro, ito yung in-explain ko kanina, from the surface. Okay. Kung nakasubmerge naman, may standing water, surface ng tubig nagsimula ang evaporation. nag-evaporate sila kasi yung surface ng water is exposed to solar radiation. Okay. So, pagpalagay na lang natin na hindi gaanong submerged, basang-basa ang ang lupa pero exposed sa sunlight kaya nagkaroon ito ng evaporation, the loss of water uh, from the surface of the soil. Okay. Now, nang magkaroon ng evaporation dito, mayroong sinasabi dito na capillary rise dahil ang tubig ay mayroong tinatawag na ah, cohesive property. Yung bawat molecule ng tubig ay mayroong pagkadikit-dikit, ang tawag noon ay cohesion. Kung baga, ibig sabihin yung basa sa surface, kung baga, molecule of water ang nandoon kasi basa. Yung tubig na pumunta doon sa subsurface ay still connected dito sa tubig sa surface, kung baga, by its continued cohesion of molecules such that pag ang molecule dito ay uh, natuyo at transform into vapor at nag nag nag-escape papunta dito ay nahila niya ngayon yung molecules of water galing sa subsurface following the capillary connection. That's why mayroong sinasabi dito capillary rise of water. Okay. So tuloy-tuloy yan kasi connected, mayroong cohesion ang molecules of water. Pag mayroong nakuha at lumabas doon, automatic na nahila nyo yung kasunod na particle or molecule. Okay. So nahila niya hanggang sa tuloy-tuloy lang. Okay. So pag nakita niyo parang ano lang yun, parang may ganun na parang shadow or hindi shadow. But yung tinitingnan niyo yung ano, yung road sa may bandang tanghali na mainit at parang may gumagalaw na ganon. Okay, parang may usok na wala kayong nakitang usok pero parang may wave na gumaganon. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng parang evaporation na process. Now dito naman sa pinakatanim bali, makikita ninyo na may araw pataas, transpiration. Ito yung loss of water na dito na kumbaga sa surface ng tanim. Ang bulk ay galing sa leaf surface ng tanim. At ito naman still using what we call as the cohesion property ng water. Pag mayroong nag-transpire from there, ay tuloy-tuloy yun kumbaga na galing dito ay kumukuha ang tanim pagkatapos lahat ng nasa ano ay may movement na tuloy-tuloy. So, dalawang property ang nagamit pag dito sa tanim. Yung cohesion at saka yung adhesion. In your higher horticultural courses, may explain doon yung movement ng tubig via soil plant uh, continuum. Mhm. So, let us proceed. For rice, this is the consumptive use as measured by research. Ang rice daw may 5,000 liters of water required to produce 1 kilogram of grains. Ang corn ay mayroong 1,400 liters lang. Magtatanong kayo, Sir, bakit maraming kailanganin sa rice? Sa corn, hindi gaano. Okay, so in as far as production of grains, dito niyo ititrace yung difference in terms of yung type ng dalawa. Ang rice ay C3, ang corn ay C4 type of plants. Now, try nyo i-research kung ano yung C3, ano yung C4. Ang C4 ay mas efficient in terms of yung grain production kumpara sa C4. So, mas productive sila. Then, evaporation is greater when the crop is still young. Can you follow? When the crop is still young, evaporation is greater. The evaporation largely confined in 10 centimeter surface depth, shading reduced evaporation. Okay, can you understand this slide? When evaporation is greater when the crop is still young. Why? Because sinabi natin kanina by definition, evaporation is the loss of water via the surface of the soil. When the crop is young, leaves are still small, and the soil surface is not yet fully covered by the plant leaves or canopy. That's why mataas ang loss through evaporation. So, the evaporation largely confined in 10 centimeter surface depth. Ibig sabihin, yung mag-evaporate, 10 centimeter na thickness from the surface of the soil, pababa, kumbaga, yun lang yung posibleng makuha palagi sa evaporation. Okay, yun yung sinasabi. So, yung capillary rise na sinasabi ay posibleng galing doon lang rin. Okay. Mhm. Okay. Then, shedding, reduced evaporation. Of course, dahil hindi na ma-expose sa init ngayon yung uh, soil surface dahil covered na ng leaves. May overshading na. Okay. Transpiration, beneficial effects. Stabilization of plant body temperature. Ibig sabihin, pag walang transpiration, posibleng mamamatay ang tanom natin, ma-denature yung mga phytochemical sa loob dahil ang init ay posibleng makasira sa kanya. So, anong natural regulating mechanism ng tanim upang hindi sila ma-stress or maapektuhan ng sobrang init sa araw? Ito yung transpiration. So, sinasabi sa higher horticultural course ng related sa crop production na ang transpiration is the cooling. This is the cooling uh, mechanism of plants, kumbaga. Okay. So, di ko na-explain sa inyo yon. Ganito na lang, konti lang. Okay. Ang transpiration makakapalamig sa tanim dahil ganito. Di ba't ang transpiration, hindi tubig yung sumisingaw papunta sa space. Ang sumisingaw na tubig, hindi liquid na tubig yung sumisingaw from the leaves papunta sa space. So anong tubig yon? Vapor form of water ang sumisingaw. Now ganito yon. Uh, it takes a large amount of energy. In fact, that is the latent heat of water. Parang uh, i-research nyo kung ilang uh, degree uh, centigrade, ilang kilojoules ang gikinahanglan nga heat energy in order to transform one molecule of liquid water into vapor. That's why, pag init kayo, kinahanglan siya heat energy aron mahimo nga gas form ang tubig nga naa sa tanom. Therefore, nagamit niya ang heat nga nisod sa tanom aron i-transform ang liquid into gas. That's why mabugnaw ang tanom because the heat energy is being used up for the process of transpiration. Okay, so di pa kayo nakasabtan ninyo. Later. Okay, then enhance rate of nutrient absorption from the soil. Very simple in a statement, pero did you understand that? Pag nagsigig transpire ang tanong, nutrients in the soil is in the solution. There is water, kumbaga. So, in the process of continued transpirational flow, singaw na, sigig-singaw na, tungod sa cohesive property of water, kumbaga, nagsunod-sunod, gikan sa pinakaubos. Sigig saka, pinakaubos, sigig saka, singaw, pagabot sa imabaw. Singaw, pagabot sa imabaw, mugawas, bayad stomates sa dahon. Singaw. In the process, ang nutrients in the solution are being absorbed by the plant. That's why it says enhanced rate of nutrient absorption from the soil. I suppose that you understand me. Then, evapotranspiration is influenced by the following factor. Evapotranspiration is another terminology. It means the loss of water through the combination of evaporation and transpiration. Evapotranspiration. So, there are factors, okay, that affect the evapotranspiration, solar radiation. Kung baga, pag masyadong mainit, mas mataas ang evapotranspiration. Ngayon, remember this one. This is very practical. Kung baga, di kayo malilito dito. Solar radiation, masyadong mainit, di mataas ang evapotranspiration. Itong RH, kung mataas ang RH or kung mababa ang IH, anong effect doon sa evapotranspiration? So remember this one. Pag mataas ang RH, mababa ang evapotranspiration. Bakit? Anong ibig sabihin ng RH? Relative humidity or the percentage of water in a form of vapor in the atmosphere. Sa ato pa, kung mas marami ang tubig sa atmosphere, kung baga, uh, sigurado, mahina ang evapotranspiration. Okay. So, matubig na sa labas paano palalabas yung tubig sa tanim? 'Di ba? Okay. So, sunod, wind turbulence. So, kahit kayo observation niyo 'yon, pag nagsampay kayo ng labahan ba tawag? Pag nagsampay kayo, madaling matuyo pag malakas ang hangin. So, ganun rin. Malakas ang rate ng evapotranspiration kung mataas ang wind turbulence. Ibig sabihin, may movement talaga ang hangin. Okay? Then, temperature. Kung lalong mainit, mas mataas ang evapotranspiration, considering na even ang RH, kung baga, hindi ganong mataas ang RH, normal ang RH, mataas ang temperature, mataas rin ang evapotranspiration. Okay, so relationship, parang finishing tayo. Relationship between evaporation and transpiration. So, newly planted crop established, plant transpiration is relatively small. Correct, kasi mababa ang bulk ng dahon, kumbaga, konti lang. So, mahina ang transpiration. Okay, evaporation from the soil surface is very great at early crop establishment dahil nga exposed sila. Wala pang cover kasi konti lang ang dahon. Then, the sum of the effects of evaporation and transpiration depends on the climate, not on the stage of the crop. So, yung climate kaniha, sinabi, mataas ang RH, mataas ang solar radiation, yun, solar radiation, ang RH, ang wind turbulence, at saka ang temperature. Okay. Then, consumptive use of different crops of similar leaf area index per day at full ground cover are more or less the same. Why? Dahil ang exposure doon sa plant ay plant na lang ang basis. Full ground cover, kumbaga, hindi naman na-expose ang we're not talking about the exposure of soil because ang exposed na lang sa condition ay ang leaves. So at full or at advanced crop development, kung full na ang ground cover, halos pareho lang ang similar crops in terms of evapotranspiration dito. Sorry, in terms of water consumptive use, pareho lang. Then, rate of evapotranspiration, this is so specific, 2 to 5 millimeter per day sa wet season. 5 evapotranspiration, loss of water, 5 to 9 millimeter per day during dry season. So, very self-explanatory. Dahil nga dry season, hindi maulan. So, RH mababa, tag-init. So, ang rate ng evapotranspiration ay mataas. Dito, tag-ulan, wet season, mababa nga. Kasi, posible mataas RH, hindi ganong mainit, kanya nga bababa. Then, factors affecting seepage and percolation. Balik natin. Ang seepage ay the horizontal movement of water as it passes through certain medium. Kung baga, seepage ang tawag doon. Okay, so factors affecting seepage and percolation, soil texture and structure. Halimbawa, in-impound natin ang tubig sa rice paddy, madali itong lalabas doon sa kabila, pagsisipage, outflow seepage, kung pagpalagay natin, sandy, masyado ang types ng soil. In other words, yung dike, kumbaga, hindi naman yun pinapaddle, hindi mo naman minimix yung dike, kung baga, posible, magsisipage outflow doon. Soil permeability. So, ang soil permeability is affected by paddling. So, pag minimix mo ng husto, magiging impermeable. Kanya nga sa rice paddy na pinapaddle, hindi gaanong nag-i-escape yung tubig. Kumbaga, okay. So, another factor is the depth of hard pan and impervious layer. So, ang hard pan dito na sinasabi, ito yung total ng effects of paddling kumbaga na nagkaroon ng amphibious. Yung impervious layer, ito yung kumbaga impermeable na layer of soil by water. Okay, so yung depth noon, kung gaano yung kakapal, kumbaga, it dictates na pwede bang mag-escape ang water or hindi. Kung makapal, less masyado ang tendency ng seepage. Kung hindi makapal, may tendency na unti-unti magkakaroon ng outflow of water. Then extent of paddling. Hindi mo pinaddle ng husto, magsisipage talaga. Pero napaddle ng husto, uh, makaka-impound ka ng tubig. Okay, water requirement at different plant growth stages. Of course, pag sinasabi sa seedling ko, konti. Pag vegetative growth, i-increase. Pag reproductive, i-maintain mo. Pag ripening, pababa na. Okay, so alam nyo ang rice, at 1 week before the harvest, i-drain mo na ng tubig yung lowland rice paddy. Bakit? Upang ma-enhance mo yung field maturity. Okay, kasi umabot naman sila sa tinatawag na physiological maturity, pero hindi pa nagiging brown yung iba. So, upang i-enhance mo yun, decrease mo na yung tubig or ialis mo na yung tubig doon. Okay, so, again, kukunti dito, regulated dito sa seedling. I-increase natin during vegetative, mataas ang pangangailangan. Pagdating ng reproductive, i-maintain natin ng konti doon. Pagdating ng ripening stage ay i-decrease natin or alisin na ngayon tubig. Ripening na eh. Okay. Then, methods of water application. Continuous submergence, depending on the type of farming, kung lowland dry siya, or depending on the type of crop, kumbaga. Then, mayroong intermittent irrigation, ginagamit din ito kahit sa lowland rice, depende yung rice intensification, kumbaga, gumagamit ng intermittent irrigation. Mayroong advance, yung sinasabi natin na timed irrigation. Ito ay mayroong mga gadgets na ginagamit. Halimbawa, sinasabi or naka-attach doon, may control kahit 100 hectares, isang tao lang ang magmi-maintain sa farm in terms of irrigation. Nasa farmhouse lang ang control. Okay. So, ang ginagawa, naka-time doon, halimbawa, for every 5 hours, for every 5 hours, ay lalabas ang tubig for 30 minutes for every 5 hours. Okay. So, we were once victim when we were in the Northern Territory because we do not know that the turf grass in the park is being maintained with timed irrigation turf grass. Okay, so yung palang turf grasses doon na ginamit nila ay mayroong regular supply of regular artificial supply of water at saka ano pa yung naka hidden pa yung mga nozzle ng irrigation. So naka-time sila ng murag for every hour mayroong uh, parang mayroong 2 minutes. Parang ganon. For every hour mayroong 2 minutes. Hindi. 2 hours parang mayroong 5 minutes. Okay, dumating kami sa park. Pagkatapos may table na concrete, may upuan na concrete. Pagtingin namin, kukunti lang mga tao. Sa Northern Territory, part ng Australia yan. Ang nangyari, kinuha namin yung mga baon, nilagay namin sa mesa. Pagkatapos, kumakain kami doon. Di namin alam na yung palang sa likuran namin, ilalim ng yuta, kasi pag malapit na ang time na mag-release na ng tubig, sa pressure na nandoon, yun yung design na lalabas from the subsurface of the soil, lalabas yung mga faucet na nakaganon. Oh, lalabas. Pagkatapos bigla na lang magbomba ng tubig o umiikot-ikot. Nataranta kami lahat pagkatapos naiwanan namin yung mga pagkain sa mesa at nabasa sa tubig. Tumakbo kami. So, yun pala yung time advance yun. Time irrigation. So, pwedeng gamitin ang application noon doon sa farm. Okay. So, hindi ka na pupunta upang magdilig. Nakaset lang ang electronics mo doon sa farmhouse. Okay, so I think this is the last. So, thank you for uh, spending some time to listen and try to review this presentation, and we will have a very short evaluation for this. So be sure to understand. So have a nice day and keep safe.